What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video, a true hoot and a holler. In today's video, we're talking about one of the worst flights I've ever taken in my life. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also, Goblin test kits are out now in collaboration with Bunk Police. I can't say too much because this video will get smited, but goblintestkits.com is a great website, and it's a harm reduction resource for all of you, and we have an AI chatbot on there that you guys can go use and get free testing results with 4K video attached for every single substance and test kit combination that you can imagine. So I hope you guys enjoy that website. Even no purchase necessary to use that free resource. I just had to plug that real quick because I'm really excited about this project, and I'm not going to say any further. Without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So today's video is actually only happening because of a tweet I made the other day. You see, someone put on my timeline, on my Twitter timeline as I'm scrolling through, and by the way, I'm not going to say X. It's not called X. Don't say that around me. It's not X. But either way, I'm scrolling through, and someone tweets that getting drunk on a flight is very stupid. And I don't like that kind of language, personally. I think that's not correct, first off. So I replied to that, and I'm just going to throw my tweet on the screen. I talked about an experience that I realized I've never made a video about. So what better time to do so than right now? Black Ops 6 just dropped. We got the heat new gameplay. We're absolutely tapped in. All right. So listen, as a lot of you guys watching this probably know, I used to fly from Chicago to Los Angeles almost every single month. And I was doing this for a very long time, a few years straight, before I ended up moving to California. There was a few reasons for this. A, going on a lot of podcasts, people were hitting me up. I was hopping on some podcasts. And B, the weed. I wanted to go out there and get fried, and it was way better than the stuff back home that I could find and, not get taxed on, because otherwise I had to get it shipped, and that's a whole nother issue, and I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I'm gonna cop the flight. I can film content and then get really fried, and it's a great trip. And I did that pretty much every single month for like 2 years straight. And this was a particular flight that, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember exactly which date this was because I was very intoxicated on this day, but I do remember this particular instance. And at the time, I was really terrified of flying. I'm kind of over the fear now. After flying out of Denver airport, if any of you guys have ever done that, I completely conquered my fear. I thought we were going down that day, and the fact that we didn't, I don't know. I'm just not scared anymore. Like, I experienced that, and I was like, all right, I think I can handle this now. And now I'm not scared. So it was a good experience, but at the time, I didn't have that yet, so I was terrified of flying. And for a while, I was taking Xans to conquer that fear. I was like, all right, I'm gonna pop some bars and it's gonna be good. But on this particular day, I don't remember why. Like, I didn't have Xans, or like maybe I didn't choose to do them. I don't know why. But my strat was always to get drunk. Before my flight, I would go to a specific bar at the St. Louis airport. This is back when I lived in Springfield, Illinois, so a more central Illinois town, further from Chicago than it was St. Louis, believe it or not. But either way, I'd go to the airport there, and it's a terrible airport. It's pretty small. It sucks. TSA is slow. But there was a specific bar in Terminal C that I would go to because I'd fly American Airlines. It was one of the only ones that would fly directly to LA for pretty cheap. And this was also back in like the COVID era, right? So on the plane, if I remember correctly, you still had to wear a mask at this point. It wasn't like over with yet. Everyone was still in pandemonium. So at this point, it was very cheap to fly. I remember I was getting round trips back and forth to Los Angeles for like $200, and I wasn't booking very far in advance either. Like, I'd book like a week in advance, when it's typically pretty expensive, and get a banging cheap flight. So I was always lit. I'd pull up. I was bringing all my loot. I was bringing my alcohol. I brought some goodies through security that maybe I shouldn't have. I'm not going to get into too much detail. You should never do this. It's very illegal. You know what isn't illegal, though? The gummies that the homies at 5 are giving out completely free. These gummies each contain 10 milligrams of green goodness, and the whole bag has 10 gummies, so you can do the math. It's a pretty solid deal for completely free. All you got to do is go check them out, right? There's going to be some more info below. They're going to hook you guys up with some completely free gummies. It's a snack that all of you guys can enjoy, and you guys don't even have to pay for it, all right? You guys know 5. I've been working with them for a long time. They always love to hook you guys up. They got some good tasting snacks, I'm not gonna lie, and the snacks they got an extra little punch, that I'm not really gonna describe too much here, but if you get my drift, you get my drift. Go check them out. Shout out to 5. Let's get back to the video. But a lot of people ask, like, how do you get that through? And I would bring like a half gram of blow through sometimes, or I bring like a gram. I was a real addict at this point in my life. You got to understand, this wasn't like I really needed it. Genuinely, like in my brain, I felt like I had to have this with me. So I was going to extreme lengths. I didn't have a plug in LA for this kind of stuff. I didn't trust it out there. I was like, I'm gonna bring it from home. I'm gonna go through TSA. And I never got caught, but I had a little baggie with me as I went to the bar in Terminal C. And I sat up at the bar, and the bartenders at this point, I was a regular at the airport bar. If that gives you an idea of how wasted I would get. They knew me by name at the airport bar. And, I was flying max once a month. So if you remember me by name at the airport bar, that means I must get really drunk. That's the only explanation. So I ordered my typical Jaeger shots, and, I got it going immediately. I would get Jaeger and sugar-free Red Bull, and then typically I'd get a little bite to eat before my flight, because that was the only way I was going to keep the alcohol down with whatever else I was going to combine with that alcohol. On this day, I got a nice Caesar salad, and this bar, it had a wonderful Caesar salad. I loved it. Even to this day, I look back at it like, wow, that's probably a top 5 Caesar salad. And I'm an enthusiast for that salad. I think if you're going to get a salad, that's probably the one. And it's not even really healthy. It defies the point of a salad, but who cares? It's great. So either way, I order my Caesar salad. They come serve it to me. I'm sitting at the bar. I'm getting drunk. And, my tactic was I would drink and take shots really fast because I'd show up to the airport maybe an hour and a half before my flight. So I'd drink really fast, and then the liquor would hit me typically as I was a few minutes away from boarding the plane. So I would drink it and just kind of get slept, get sucker punched by all the shots I'd taken. And that's exactly what happened today. I just got wasted on this day. I remember I was sitting at the bar and I got the spins almost as soon as I stood up. And, part of the reason they liked me at this bar is because I loved how they would pour my shot so fat. So I'd tip them $100. They'd get me so drunk that I would just be like, wow, you guys are the best bartenders ever. Here's a $100 tip on my $50 tab. Have a good one. And they loved me for that. That's probably mainly why they remembered me, looking back at it, actually. Yeah, they would just drug me to get me to tip a lot. Damn, I never even... Wow. All right, that's not cool. Either way, so... I was getting drugged by the bartenders in order to tip more money, and it worked. They got me. But I got up from the chair, and I just remember I was so wasted. And I realized I was like, yo, if I'm nauseous already and I feel the spins already, dude, I'm going to projectile vomit on the takeoff. There's no way. Every time a plane would take off, I would clutch both armrests of my seat. My palms would be sweaty. I'd be so nervous because I'd always think dude, I've watched so many videos, the takeoff and the landing are always the bad part. So I would be terrified at every takeoff and every landing this is it, dude. What if the engines give out? We just slam into a building. Boom. Then it's over. No more YouTube videos. That sucks. I wouldn't like that. So my palms were sweaty, and before I ended up boarding the plane, I veered to the bathroom that was right next to the bar, and I go in the bathroom, I pull out my little baggie, I chop up a couple lines on the back of my phone in a stall. I took the little back corner stall, and it was the only one that, wasn't grimy. Every time I go to the airport, I always am so careful about what stall I go into, even if I'm not sitting on that toilet. You have to be, okay? Airport stalls, depending on the airport, are vile. You have to be careful, all right? When you think about it, they have to be the most trafficked, they get the most foot traffic of any bathroom stall in the world, probably. So you have to be alert. You have to be aware when you're using that bathroom stall. So I found the cleanest one. I go in there, I chop up a couple lines, and instantly... You guys know how it is. I do those couple lines and I sober up a bit. I'm like, okay, I feel more collected. I feel like I can do this, you know? And this was a fairly normal thing for me at this point. I didn't feel like super crazy, like, oh, wow, I'm doing lines in the bathroom right now. This is something that, you know, I definitely done before in public and, you know, been a nuisance with. This was nothing new to me. So I hop out of the bathroom stall and I go get in line to board my flight, right? And I'm standing in line and, oh my God, I just remember, like, I'm looking around at the ratio of children boarding the flight, and I'm like, damn, this is going to be tough. I was sitting in the very back of the plane because I'd read online that's the place where, like, if the plane crashes, you're probably the safest. So I'd always sit in the very back, like the back 2 rows, only place I was willing to go. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, damn, dude, I'm in the economy, like, plus section. You know, I'm in the, like, deep economy section. Like, I might be here with a family, so I'm getting a little nervous. And we get on the plane. You know, we hop on there and I take my seat. Everything's okay. Takeoff happens. And once again, everything's all right. I take my seat and I would always pick an aisle seat at this point. I was always too scared to do the window because it was a tough debate. It was like, okay, I can take the window and like, I can close it, you know, I can close it and I'll be less scared. But then, like, the people sitting in my row are going to ask me to open it probably at some point, especially during the landing. And that's the worst part. I don't want to see out the window during that part. Close it, dude. Close that shit. I want to pretend I'm on a bus and it's on pavement. I'm not in the sky, you know? So either way, the reason I didn't choose the window seat is because the aisle was superior for 2 reasons. Actually 3. 1, anyone who walks past, right? Anyone who walks past, like, any flight attendant, you could be like, you get them first. It's like, hey, can I have a water? They're not going to miss you, you know? Like, you can kind of, like, stick your hand up a little bit, make that eye contact as they're walking towards you, bang, you're in. In the window seat, they might not even look at your dumb ass, okay? And I love to have a good water, especially on my flight. But in general, I love hydration. So either way, I'm sitting in the aisle seat, and we take off and everything's okay at first. And St. Louis to LA is like about 3.5 hours. It says online it's more than that, but real actual flight length is about 3.5 hours. And then on the way back, it can be even faster. I've done it in like just over 3 one time, which was nuts. That shit was on Spirit though. So like those pilots were whipping. They probably didn't even have an L's. They had no license, just flying that hoe. It was a flight attendant. Put it in sport. So we're like, I don't know, a couple hours into this flight, and I'm very drunk, but I wasn't able to fall asleep. You know, I had mentioned a lot of kids boarded, and a lot of kids were crying, and on top of that, I was just anxious on this day. I was extra nervous. I think it was the lines that I did. They just made me a little paranoid. So I'm sitting in my aisle seat, and finally the seat buckle sign comes back on, and I'm like, oh, God, you know, I mean, this is not good. You know, at this point, my stomach was kind of tossing and turning, and normally on a flight, I'd fall asleep to deal with that. But this was a different kind of day. This was a day where, like, I can't even explain why. I felt something in my gut that was just not correct. I think it might have been the Caesar salad. But either way, the seatbelt sign comes on. And it's that kind of turbulence where, like, you feel it before it's about to hit. So your stomach lifts up, you know, you almost lift up out of your seat a little bit. Then it's just bang. It's not that turbulence where it's just bumpy like you're going over rocks. It's that real, like, surprise fucking drop, boom kind of turbulence. So that hits a couple times. They come over the announcer. They're like, hey, buckle your seatbelts. Like, stay in your seat. And I'm sitting there getting shaken up, dude. They're stirring up Jägermeister with cocaine drip mixed in with Caesar salad. And that's just not a good concoction for the human stomach. So as soon as that happened, I mean, dude, I'm imagining like a witch's cauldron in my stomach, right? Of just degenerate things, and then the one good thing is Caesar salad. You know, otherwise it's just liquor and blow and boogers, you know? So that's shaking up my stomach. You know, the blow drip is just fucking with my nasal. You know, it's not good. And after I persevere through this turbulence, I remember I was so instantly, like, I was so nauseous by the end of this when I was able to get up. I got up before the seatbelt sign came off. Like, as soon as it kind of just smoothed out for, like, more than 30 seconds, I was like, all right, I'm out the jam. And I got up, I ran to the bathroom, which was luckily right behind me, so I didn't really run. I just took, like, a long step, you know, and I got in there, and I sit in the bathroom, and immediately I just throw the fuck up into the toilet. You know, luckily, these bathrooms are perfect for throwing up. I mean, half the bathroom floor just is a toilet. Like, they're so small, there's no room to stand. Like, you're just in there, and it's just like, damn. All right, well, like, the toilet takes up more space than the standing area, so it's hard to miss. You know, even in turbulence, it's kind of, unless you're peeing. I have done that before. That's a different day, though. But either way, so I'm in there and I yak immediately. And it's that kind of like projectile vomit. That shit where you're crying. You know, your eyes are watering. It's not that vomit where it's like, oh, I feel good. It's that shit where I'm like, damn, I'm crying. This is bad. It's like Shorty just left me. That type of cry, you know? So I'm yakking in that shit. It's not good. I recover pretty quick, though. You know, after I finish, a little bit of dry heaving, I get up, wash my hands, freshen myself up. And I'm like, okay, surely the way to permanently defeat this illness is a bump, right? So I put my phone on the very small counter space. And I mean, in this particular plane, it was next to none. Like, my phone was half hanging over the sink. And I pulled my baggie out of my pocket, deep in my pocket. I remember I had it tucked in my wallet. And as soon as I flipped my phone over and had it on the counter, I opened my baggie and I poured the tiniest little rock out on the back of my phone. You know, I had my phone case in my pocket. Can't have the case on there, you know. And I try to chop it up. I get a dollar bill over it. You know, I get my debit card going. And Turbulence hits again. And the whole time while I was in the bathroom throwing up, it was smooth. And of course, as soon as I try to chop it up, I feel that kind of lift where it feels like I'm zero gravity for a second. And I'm like, fuck. And before I can even react, boom, I drop. Immediately, the dollar bill I had falls off my phone, right? I'm scraping with the credit card. My phone kind of slides off the counter. The rock is on the floor. I look down. I see the little rock. It's on the floor. I'm like, damn. You know, looking back at it, I don't think I ever picked that up. So I don't know whatever happened with that. I hope a child didn't gum that. Damn, that kid was probably geeking little Timmy off that shit. All right, my bad, Timmy. Either way, so I dropped the rock, and I'm like, yo, this isn't going to work. Like, this is not going to work. So I just gummed some, right? I gummed my blow. I open the bag up, get my finger in there, get my pinky in there, and I didn't have, like, the longer pinky nail for it. You know, sorry, I wasn't at that level. I would just, like, get some stuck on my pinky and just, like, rub it on my gums. That's just how I would do it. I didn't have the elongated nail for this stuff. I wasn't that serious about it. So I'm gumming it. You know, I got it on my gums, and I go back to my seat. You know, I put the baggie back in my pocket, put my phone case back on, rinse my hands up, go back to my seat, and I sit down. Turbulence is still kind of bumping, and it was honestly most of the flight. It was just slightly bumpy. And as soon as I gummed this, I was sitting there and like that flavor. I was like, oh, man. I just got the flavor, but I'm not geeked enough. I have to go try again, right? I have to go try again. So I go back to the bathroom, right? I walk back over there. I get back in the bathroom. And mind you, like, everyone's going to the bathroom during the slightly smooth parts. Everyone's trying to. I'm hogging that shit, right? Like, I'm being a little bastard trying to get geeked right now. So I go back in the bathroom, you know? And I'm sitting in the back row, so I didn't even have to stand in line. It was like I could just monitor the status and just get in there. So I go back to the bathroom, and I try to chop up another line. And this time, I'm actually able to do it. I was actually able to get myself a line chopped up. I don't know how. I mean, by the grace of God, I was truly dedicated at this point. You got to understand. You know, like right now, I mean, I'm probably rookie status. I'm rusty on the sticks, bro. I'm rusty on the chop. But like at this point in my life, I was a chop star. Okay, I was an expert line chopper. So I was able to get the job done. And I railed my line, and I remember it was a fat one. I needed that so bad, though. And I went back to my seat. I was not drunk anymore. Immediately, I was no longer drunk. I was sitting there. Wham, bam, baby, we up. Give me a test right now. Give me an IQ test. I'm scoring 250. All right, we up. I'm sitting there. That lasted probably 5 minutes. After the initial, like, yo, we good, kind of wore off, it turned into like, oh, now the flavors combined with the drip, but I'm actually geeking and I can't feel my mouth. You know, like, this is quite the concoction of issues. And I remember I drank my water. I had a water at my seat, and I took a sip. And if you guys ever been too geeked, I mean, listen, if you haven't, don't try it. But, like, some of you might share this experience. You're super geeked. You can't feel your teeth. You take a sip of cold water, and it's just the worst. It, like, hurts almost. It's like, God. You know, like, that's how it was. I took a sip of water. I was like, oh, my God. I can't drink that ever again. You know, I swished it around my mouth a little bit. Tried to take it. Was like, oh, it was almost painful, the cold water on my numb fucking gums at this point. So I'm sitting there. The drip's hitting me. Tummy hurting. Listen, I don't know about y'all, but I hate when my tummy's upset, right? So I'm in this flight. I'm like, damn, it's over with. You know, my tummy's hurting. I'm dripping. I have to go back to the bathroom. But this time when I look back, there was a fat line. There was 3 people waiting, and one of those people was like a parent and a kid. I mean, dad and daughter or some shit. I don't know. A parent and a fucking little kid. And I was sitting there. I'm like, damn, dude. You know, I might have to just throw up right on this kid's head. I mean, you know, I'm sitting at this kid's, like, head level at this point. I mean, I could just yak right here, you know, and I'm trying to hold it in so bad. I'm holding it in. And finally, it gets to the point where, like, there was still a couple people in line. I was sitting in my seat, you know, it was taking forever. I'm like, yo, I have to go up to the front of the plane. Like, I have to see if the front is open. So I get up, and I remember I tried going to the front. I, like, stormed the front of the plane, dude. Motherfuckers are probably scared with how aggressively I was walking to the front. I probably looked like I was about to kick the fucking pilot's door in, right? I was geeking out of my mind. I needed to yak. It was not good all around. So I go through the little curtain that separates first class from us peons in the back of the plane, and I go up to the bathroom, and this one's wide open. No one said anything. You know, you're allowed to actually go up there and use the bathroom. It's literally just like, they don't want you to think you can. Like, they don't, get away from us. You peon. Back. You know, you stink. You smell like poverty back there. You know, ew. The air doesn't blow as cold in the back of the plane. You know, they don't like that. We're all sweaty. So I go up to the front. You know, I go in the bathroom, and I'm like, all right, I'm 5 feet away from the pilot of the plane, throwing up a repulsive concoction of stomach bile, cocaine, and Caesar salad, and Jägermeister, which, good God, imagine those terps. And on top of that, as soon as I'm done yakking this up, you could probably take a wild guess what I got up to right after. Buddy, we're gumming some more. So at this point, I was a little scared of doing another line. I wasn't as desperate. You know, the drip, like, was really getting to me, and I think the numbness in my teeth was preferable to the drip from my nose. So for the rest of the flight, I was just gumming, and oh my God. This flight, I think, honestly, the way I handled it made this flight feel so much longer and more dreadful than it really was. I mean, I was clutching my pearls, sitting in my seat, rotating from the bathroom to the seat to the bathroom to the seat, and I really did just keep this entire flight just on rotation, doing some blow, going and sitting down, throwing up, going back, sitting down. My stomach hurts again, but there was nothing left to puke after a little while, except, like, saliva, and you guys know how that gets. When it gets to that point, it's bad, you know? It's not good. It's not good at all. So I finally, you know, we started landing. We started descent. And I'm like, thank God. Because at this point, I was really starting to sober up from the liquor. And I was more just nauseous and kind of uncomfortable and cold sweating a little bit from being geeked and throwing up so many times. And I'm sitting there like, wow, I cannot wait to just land. You know, I can't wait to just get off this flight and get the hell out of here, right? So we start our descent. And this was like one of the first times going down I wasn't scared. I remember I was like excited for the landing. I was like, bro, we could crash. You know, like the wing could fall off. I mean, as long as the wheels touch down, the front half of the plane could ignite. I'm in the back half. As long as the wheels touch down and I exit this plane, whether it be normally at the gate or I exit via a slide or I have to kick out a window, I want to get out the jam. I was just grateful to be on the ground again. So we land, no problem, and we get on the runway, and I remember we're sitting there, and we wait for a gate for like 30 minutes, and that's the absolute worst part of it, because then the plane gets musty. They turn down the power on the plane or whatever, something like that, and when they do that, the air conditioning seems to turn almost all the way off. If you've ever been stuck on the runway, you know. It gets musty in that plane quick. Or maybe it was just the people around me on this flight. I don't know. I'm a nice, clean boy. But we land, and I get off this flight, and then I realize, I'm still not feeling good. I still can't feel my teeth or my gums, and now I have to get to a hotel, which from the LA airport is not easy, you know? So I go to the Uber area, which is a whole mission. You have to ride a bus to get there. You can't just call an Uber from, like, the front of the airport. You have to literally take a bus, like off airport property, to go get an Uber. So I get in this little bus. I go off, you know, I go to this little parking lot area that they have as like an Uber staging area. I get my ride. I get in. It's like an hour plus in LA traffic to get to my hotel. And the whole time in the Uber, I'm sitting there like, damn, you know, I can't throw up, but also I'm coming down now and I'm fiending and I don't have anything else to do. Like, I can't really hit my cart. This guy's going to smell it. It was a small car. So I remember originally I was sitting on the opposite side of him in the back seat. and I scooted over to right behind him. I thought that would make it easier for me to like gum some blow out of my bag. I was like, all right, I'm gonna scoot right behind this guy. So I scoot over a little bit and I got right behind him. And at this point, I was just so desperate to get to my hotel and just like chill, just like have a seat, maybe smoke a little weed. I hadn't gotten to smoke it all at this point. I wanted to just get fried, vibe out. So I'm riding in this Uber. I sit behind this guy. I open my baggie up, pull it out of my pocket real slow. I keep it on my left side so it's like up against the door. I kind of put my right hand, like my right arm across my lap and like dip my finger, in the pocket on the left side of my lap. I'm trying to give you like a real good, or dip my finger in the, not the pocket, in the like baggie. But either way, I'm trying to give you a good mental image of how I did this, right? So I slide my finger over, dip it in the baggie. I gum this blow because I'm not chopping a line in this guy's fucking Uber. And instantly I'm relieved. I'm like, and telling this story, it's crazy because like I wasn't even partying in this. Like this wasn't something I look back at as like, oh, this was fun. This is how hooked on this shit I really ended up getting at one point. It was like this was just normal for me. It was like wow, like oh, this is just a part of my life now. Like, oh, I don't feel good, my stomach's upset, gum some blow. At this point, it was just a normal part of my life. So telling the story now and looking back at it, it's like, wow, yeah, it was pretty bad at this point for me. This is not like my normal other stories where it's like, yeah, I was with the homies, we were out, we were having fun. This is like, no, dude, I spent the whole time throwing up, doing blow, and throwing it all back up again. And just repeating the cycle. And that's not fun or cool. But eventually I got to my hotel, and I remember I was sitting there, and finally I was able to just chill the fuck out. I remember I took a shower because I feel grimy every time I get off an airplane. I don't know what it is. I feel like I have 9 different diseases crawling across my skin, and I need to rush to the shower. So that's exactly what I did. Clean myself up a little bit, kind of sobered up. I was feeling like shit because I didn't get to sleep on the flight. I'd never sleep well before my flights at this point in my life because I was always anxious about it. So I'd stay up super late the night before, and I'd always worry. I'd be watching like, if I knew I had a flight, I'd watch like flight crashing videos. Like I don't know why I would do that. I would make it so much worse. But either way, I made it to my hotel and everything was okay. We're going to cut it here because if I keep going, this is going to be an hour-long video. And if you want an hour-long Goblin video, you should just go watch the Gobcast because I just interviewed RXK Nephew, a legendary rapper who told me he's better than Kendrick. So go tune into that. Type in the Gobcast on YouTube. You should know where to find it by now. If you don't, what kind of Goblin viewer are you, dude? I don't really know you. Drop a like, drop a sub. I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.